Okay, welcome to the screencast on the Battle of Issus, the outcomes of the Battle of Issus, but also this cool mosaic. So here we'll go through what this victory means for Alexander defeating Darius in battle. So this mosaic is originally from the House of the Faun, as I said, in Pompeii, which was destroyed during the eruption of 79 AD in Mount Vesuvius. Pompeii's in Italy, and this was understood to be taken from actually a contemporary painting about Alexander and Darius fighting at the Battle of Issus. Now it's pretty cool. There's quite a lot going on in here, but there's a few things I'd like to point out. So here's Alexander here in all his glory, and here's Darius here in all his, I guess, shame as he's about to be defeated. I like to zero in on the two characters themselves. We can see Alexander. He's all power and might as he's thrusting forward towards Darius. You know, his right arm is back with the spear held here. The thumb is going to guide it. He's got on his armor here, which is full frontal, essentially, to display his power. The head of the Medusa, the monster woman with snakes for hair, and I don't know why I gestured to my head. That would turn you to stone with a glance. His eyes are locked on Darius, and he's thrusting forward. It's all energy and youthful dynamism. Darius, on the other hand, is in despair. His face is in despair. His hand is out, perhaps appealing to Alexander, or if we look at this, appealing to the men who have fallen before him. And right behind Darius, we've got his charioteer. He's already turned to lead the chariot out from the battle. Darius has probably given him the orders, and he's swinging the chariot around to get out of the battle, as you can see. So the contrast between the two figures, I think, is quite important. And if we look closer at Alexander, here we see there's the head of the Medusa there. Look at him. It's all energy. It's all muscular determinism, and his eyes are locked on Darius. You know, this is sort of the Avenger coming. He's thrusting forward, going to destroy the enemy. And Darius, on the other hand, is very keen to get out of there, as you can see. And it's quite interesting to notice with the spears also. So here the Persian spears have got some sort of formation, but over here is the chaos of the battle. The spears are going every which way as the men turn and flee. My favorite part is down here. We've got a Persian who is actually about to be crushed by Darius's chariot as Darius flees. And in his shield held up here, reflexively trying to protect himself from the crushing of the chariot, you can actually see his reflection. Here's his reflection here, and here's the Persian. So this is the moment of his death as Darius' chariot tramples him, and he's literally looking death in the face, which I think is really, really cool. This mosaic itself is in the Archaeological Museum in Naples, in Italy. Was lucky enough to visit it when we were there last year. Behind the screen there is me, probably talking about the Persian scene, the death in the face. I think that's Philip's head, actually. And here in Pompeii, in the House of the Faun, where the mosaic was, is a replica represented here. So it would have been the floor of a rather pretty cool room in the House of the Faun itself. So it's taken from a contemporary painting of the battle. Now, these photos, like this one here, which I've got of me, that's my arm, you can see there. Miss Monk took that photo. And so I was just looking through Miss Monk's photos of the trip. So I'm getting totally sidetracked here, but, you know, that's how it goes. Miss Monk took some photos of the trip, which I use a lot because it's got me in them, you know. So I thought this is a great photo. You know, it shows what I want to talk about. And then I just happened to look at some of the other photos that Miss Monk took at the museum in Naples. And so I just put a couple of them together, and I just interested in your thoughts. I'm not going to really say much about them. I just, you know, think of Miss Monk, and then here's some other photos she took of exhibits in the museum. I don't know what you guys think. Just thought I'd put that out there, that this is why Miss Monk enjoyed the museum at Naples. It's tough life. All right, the Battle of Issus is, the ending is total chaos for the Persians. You know, as I said, the spears are every which way, real good indicator. And Arrian says that the Macedonians rode across a river on the piled bodies of the Persian dead. You had 600,000 men either dead or fleeing the battle. and they blocked the waterways and allowed the Macedonians to ride their horses over them. That's how chaotic it was. Look, it's total success, because not only did Alexander defeat Darius in battle, but they overran the Persian base camp with all the Persian luxuries that Darius had brought with him to celebrate his victory. Now belongs to the Macedonians, and this makes Alexander rich beyond his wildest dreams, I imagine. I don't know how wild his dreams are, but it makes him pretty rich. And what we have here is I would say, like the rich kids of Torah. This is what it means to be a king, is having the Persian luxury that they took over when the Macedonians seized the base camp. Unbelievable luxury, gold, jewelry, fabrics, carpets, just everything that anyone could want now belong to Alexander. And it's only a small taste of the luxury of the Persian Empire, because remember, Darius just brought these luxuries to celebrate his impending victory, which didn't quite happen. It's absolutely like a looter's paradise, this base camp. Gold, silver, jewels, beautiful cloth, furniture, tapestries, incredible food. Everything's just laid out and now belongs to the Macedonians. Arrian says that when Alexander entered Darius's tent and saw the luxury, he said, "So this is what it means to be king." Completely opposite to a Macedonian king who just lived a hard life. Seeing the luxury of the Persians probably blew Alexander's mind, and certainly blew the minds of all his men, because they went nuts for it. So all of this now belongs to Alexander. Everything of Darius now belongs to Alexander, including Darius's harem, 365 girls who he can have extramarital sex with, obviously one for each day of the year. They now belong to Alexander. As you know about Alexander's sexuality, he didn't make much use of that, if at all. There is an interesting scene when, also in the campaign tent that Darius brought with him to celebrate his impending victory, for some reason, he brought his family, his mother, his wife, also his sister, and his children, 3 princesses and at least 1 son. He brought them with him. And it's a funny story, really. Alexander was sort of, I don't know, sitting in Darius's bath, tucking into the food, and he hears a woman crying from an adjoining room, and he says, who the woman what they're crying about? And he's told that it's Darius's family, and they think they're all about to be executed. And so he sort of, okay, right, we'll go and see them. And so him and Hephaestion go into the other room where Darius's family are. And as they come in, Darius's mother, Statira, is here. She approaches Hephaestion because she thinks he's Alexander because he's taller. She approaches Hephaestion and bows down in front of him and says something like, "My lord." And there's a moment of everyone's feeling a bit awkward because she's talking to Hephaestion, who she thinks is Alexander. Alexander's standing there, a little bit shorter. But Alexander saves the day. He steps forward and he says to Statira, Darius' mother, "Don't worry, mother. He too is Alexander." They love each other. Yeah, Hephaestion was for Alexander. He was his alter ego, I think. So there's a nice little scene. And look, Darius' family is now prisoners of Alexander, his wife, his mother, 2 daughters, 3 actually, but it could be 2 or 3, and at least 1 son. All now belong to Alexander. They're hostages, essentially. And Plutarch says that Alexander allowed them to keep the same privileges they had previously enjoyed. So he looked after them. He didn't abuse them in any way. He looked after them, make sure they were safe, make sure they had the luxuries they're accustomed to, make sure they kept education, make sure they had food, everything. He totally looked after them. The respect that he has for women, particularly for older women. We've seen that with his mother, with Timoclea, with Ada, and now we see it with Statira, Darius's mother, which is a curious thing. He has Darius's wife. She's called Statira. Darius's wife is now in Alexander's captivity as well. And by all accounts, she was the most beautiful woman in Asia. And Arrian claims that Alexander didn't molest her in any way, which would have been unusual. Alexander's an unusual man, but this would have been unusual. But he says no, he didn't force himself on her at all. Aaron would say that because he's a bit of a fanboy of Alexander, and it's possible he didn't. But Darius' wife, she actually died 18 months later, and Justin says she died in childbirth. Justin is another source who we pull on, doesn't have much to say about Alexander, but he has this to say that she died in childbirth, which does lend to sort of a rumour that perhaps Alexander did have sex with Darius' wife. Not sure. So there we go. There's a few rumours sitting out there. Parmenio is sent back to Damascus, where a large number of Persian officials and families are waiting to hear of Darius' victory at Issus. They hear something very different. The Macedonians are triumphed, and so they're all taken prisoner, and the wealth that they brought with them is also fed to Alexander as well. Barsine is there. She's one of the Persian officials there, Memnon's wife. She's taken to Alexander. Alexander falls for her, and he does, and Plutarch says that the first woman he had a sexual relationship with, and he would have been aged about 24 at this stage. And so we do see Alexander having sex with a woman at this point in his life, and he did have a son whom Alexander named Heracles. Okay, but look, coming back to the Macedonians, they are all now incredibly rich men. Okay, and it's their first taste of luxury beyond their wildest dreams. They've got immense wealth. One of the Macedonian soldiers, actually, the studs on the soles of his boots, he had them done in silver. Like, no one's ever going to see them. But that's how rich they are. They've just got so much conspicuous wealth. They've all got concubines, or women that are sex slaves, essentially. They've all got amazing, amazing wealth. But it gives them this new passion for good living. You know, they, as Plutarch says, they're like dogs in the eagerness for the wealth of the Persians. They love it. New wealth. Awesome to revel in that luxury. So you start to kind of see, and what the sources hint at, a decaying of sort of, I guess, the character of Alexander's men as they embrace this Persian luxury. I mean, goodness me, silver boots, boot studs, and that sort of thing. It's just nuts. But they've fallen for the wealth and all those things that do corrupt men, I guess. And you do start to see a decaying around the edges. Okay, look, it's a massive victory. Alexander now controls all of Asia Minor. All the area behind him is completely secure. It's huge. He has defeated the great king in battle. This is an unbelievable thing. He's won the battle, though, but he hasn't won the war. Look at the might of the Persian Empire, that Darius can still call on to fight Alexander. So there will be a sequel. But the Persians are demoralized, a crushing defeat, because Alexander's defeated the King of Kings in battle. It's unheard of. No one's ever done that. It's amazing propaganda of Alexander. Yeah, he's got the baggage train, he's got the royal family. I would say it's pretty clear now that Darius is on borrowed time. He's taken over Asia Minor. Alexander can really do it. That's what people would have been thinking. Geez, this boy king, he can actually do it. He could conquer the Persian Empire. This is probably going to happen. That's the message that people would have been whispering to each other. So it does seem that Alexander is unstoppable. This is a frieze on a funerary casket, not Alexander's, but here's Alexander astride Bucephalus, crushing Persians, the Who's of Bucephalus, as they flee from him. Bucephalus up, Alexander, all that youthful dynamism, that muscularity, glaring at the enemy, thrusting the spear down. Alexander is unstoppable. There we go. That's the Battle of Issus. Consequences. The unstoppable nature of Alexander of Macedon. Ka kite.